Oh, I was like, I don't hear any feedback in my headphones because my mic was muted. So let me quickly redo that intro. What's up, Giants fans, Hub watchers, YouTube and Rumble subscribers, Twitter and Instagram followers? It's Kush back at it again with another episode of the Just Chillin' podcast. Is it still muted? No, okay, so it's going. Just Chillin' podcast call-in show, paying edition. What's up, y'all? Welcome in. That was a little bit of a mistake that I haven't made in a while, but how's everybody doing? I see a good amount of people in here. Viz Ed, Sober Party, man. Sober Party. You gotta let me know when your hunter season is done so we can hop on Halo, bro. Evan Spitzberg, Lord Commander Manny, Marjorie, Namar, how's everybody doing? Sober Party says, prior to the stream, just want to say the show you went on with the Giants community streamers, content creators the other day was fantastic. My poor mom, LOL stranded. Yeah. For those of you that don't know what he's referring to, there was kind of a big collaboration stream the other day. Lawrence Tynes actually popped in towards the end of it. Man, I would have loved to have a chance to speak to Lawrence Tynes, of course, former Giants kicker, kicked us to the Super Bowl twice. But it was a big stream over on, if any of you guys know the Dave Gettleman parody account on Twitter, it was on his YouTube channel. I think it's called Soundwell. There was me there was Kid Blue, there was Tana, Lawrence Tynes, like I said. I think there was Bobby Skinner as well. And a couple other people I'm forgetting, but there was a lot of dudes there. But CJ as well in here. What's up? Ligma as well. Definitely, if you have a chance, go check it out. And before if you're a member, you already have the link to call in. But before I drop the link for, everybody else to call in, and before I pop on anybody else, we do have quite a bit to discuss, in my opinion. I made a video on it today, and I feel like a good amount of people would agree with me when saying that Joe Judge, his immediate post-game press conference after the Bears game, where he started off and went on a 10-minute rant, kind of, or 11-minute rant. Just quick, I'm sorry, don't mean to get sidetracked. I moved the mic so that it's actually centered to me in real life, but for some reason, it just looks off-center in the camera, and that annoys me, so I'm gonna move it back so it looks centered on the camera. Either way, I don't think the audio was affected too much, but getting back to what I was saying, that 10-minute rant Joe Judge did at the beginning of his press conference yesterday, or beginning of the post-game interview yesterday, was a very interesting one. He said a lot of things, and a lot of them, to me, in my opinion, I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Anybody from the chat, you guys already know, anybody and everybody's welcome to call in. You don't got to show your face, especially if I know you in chat. Audio alone is fine. But it sounded to me like he's trying to rationalize and talk to the public, find a way to keep his job. That's what it sounded like. And Ryan Clark, I usually don't watch too much of ESPN stuff anymore or Fox Sports 1 stuff anymore, but I saw a clip of Ryan Clark talking today on First Take that I had to agree with. I would share it to you guys, but knowing ESPN, which is owned by Disney and ABC, I'm not going to take that chance. They love to give down copyright strikes. But essentially what he said is that Joe Judge is asking the fans to just trust him with no real basis. Because what Joe Judge keeps saying is you guys might not see the progress on the field, but there's progress behind doors. What he's saying then, you're not seeing progress with me as an actual coach. We're not seeing improved football. We're not seeing wins. But I'm asking you to trust me because I'm telling you that other people trust me, which is a very big leap to take. It's a very big leap of faith as a fan to take, right? Because all Judge is giving us is almost empty platitudes when he says, behind the scenes, things are moving forward well. You don't see players with golf clubs in front of their lockers. You don't see them planning their vacations. And it's like there's no real way for us to quantify or verify that. We could quantify wins. We could verify wins. We could quantify progress just by looking at it on the field. We could quantify and verify preparation in games, right? Which is like our team, sure, maybe it shouldn't be winning a lot of games considering the injuries, but it should at the very least look prepared. And our team hasn't looked prepared in over a month of football, in my opinion, right? So that's why whenever judges, and especially in that press conference where he sounded desperate, yeah, Marjorie, that's a great word for it, where he sounded desperate. Like, I really thought he looked like he was pleading to the fans, maybe to ownership, I don't know. It's just a whole bunch of emptiness. He's saying, trust me, because some players trust me, because some players are calling the Giants saying, oh, how they miss being here, which that's another thing where I'm like, nobody could verify that. How am I just supposed to take your word at face value and believe that? No player has come out and spoken in favor of it. You know what I mean? And speaking of players coming out and speaking in favor of people, Scott Simonson, former Giants tight end. I think he was with us for maybe 2 or 3 years as a second, third string tight end. He came out and had a little bit to say about not only Dave Gettleman, but the Giants medical staff as well. And you guys know me, at least if you've been on the streams. I have been preaching about the Giants medical and training staff and saying that we need to replace them because, in my opinion, it's got to be some of the worst, if not the worst in the NFL, specifically the medical staff and how they handle injuries. I really think they handle them in the worst way possible, and we don't allow players to properly recover or heal. But I'm going to share my screen real quick so you guys can see all the quotes that Scott Simon said, not only about the medical staff, but also the training staff. I mean, not only about the medical staff, but also Dave Gettleman. I said training staff because I'm just fed up with both of them. But let's see here. Okay, yeah, you guys could definitely read that from Scott Simonson. This is literally from today. He says, Dave Gettleman is an atrocious GM and not a good person in my opinion. The fact that he's had this much time to not be good at his job while deciding others' fates and indebting one of the most historically respected franchises is embarrassing and also a strong example of karma existing. Now, if we go back, he then continues saying, in relation to this tweet blowing up, LOL, I'll clarify that my opinion is from being misled about the severity of my ankle injury, not giving details, being released on the settlement of a basic injury, and finding out later that they knew the extent of it, all things he played a role in. That's pretty slimy. Maybe that's just something of being in the business of the NFL, but that's pretty slimy right there, the part that I just highlighted, kind of being misled about your injury while the team knew it so that, they could basically save some money. Then he says, also to be clear, I don't think this was intentional. I was a career backup player on minimum salary. I wasn't an important piece of the machine, so when I got damaged, I was simply removed and replaced. But I'm not saying it was on purpose. It's just how the NFL works sometimes, which is what I was just referring to. And then there is something real quick here about the medical staff. I'm trying to see if I could find it. Maybe it's this little piece that he typed out. But this is just continuing on Gettleman, where he says, I'm appreciative of him for giving me the opportunities, but I still capitalize on these opportunities. I knew what it was at stake for me as a role player. I wasn't in the position to miss games, practices, otherwise I'd be replaced, so playing hurt was normal. Until I got an injury, I couldn't tough out. This is when my opinions began to change because how easily they moved on without much explanation on what was truly wrong, only to find out later that they were aware it was a significant injury, but other priorities took over and my health was put second. Plus, I'd signed things that relieved the team of liability. It's the unfortunate part of this business for some guys, and it's one I learned the hard way, but it is what it is. Thank you. Now, once again, he said it, I said it as well. It could be the way to business. He is just a role player, but it still makes me worry about how they handle bigger pieces of the franchise. You already know how I feel about the whole Daniel Jones injury right now, which he does kind of speak on. I'm going to scroll down his Twitter feed here and try to find it. Ooh, it's going to be some all the way back from December, I think. Maybe here it is right here, December 22nd. An unfortunate situation for a great guy. I think the Giants should look into the team doctor Rodio's diagnosis of injury. From the starting QB to a multitude of other players to my 2019 high ankle sprain that I never even got an injury grade on and a very vague diagnosis. These are things, no matter what level of player you are, should definitely worry you. And he continues, of him saying it's a 4 to 6 week injury, I still have issues with my foot 2 years later. Even returning later that year, I told him it still bothered me. He said it was normal and I'd be fine, only to get no workouts as a free agent since teams weren't interested in the concerns with my ankle. And now after playing hard for my childhood team, I get no answers. I've seen doctors on my own who said I could have benefited from surgery or MRI. I've sent in requests to the Giants to get another MRI over the few months through the NFLPA workers' comp. Still no response. And he says, I'm going to throw this in there as well. The first pick is the MRI findings right after my injury. It shows tears and ruptures in my ankle, calf, and foot, all of which Dr. Rodio was aware of, yet he didn't disclose any of this to me. But he did with the team since this was my medical history. I got a year later, but no advice, no recommendations, no checkups, no transparency. Put in a boot, told it will take 6 weeks, and waived with an injury. That is supposed to be top notch care, too. Grateful for my time at the Giants, but that guy really didn't help my career. Still caught it, though. And then I guess this is the play he got injured on, I'm going to guess. But what I will say, that doctor, and I've been saying for a while now, I'm not sure how I feel about the Giants medical staff. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say. And so while I was reading that entire thing, of course, I'm guessing people popped in. I'm going to read you all comments now. Timothy Firth, he says, will the Giants hire Scott Pioli as their new president of football operations and general manager, and then name Brian Leftwich as their new head coach and offensive coordinator? I have no idea, Timothy. I don't think isn't Byron, hold up. Let me just quickly make sure where he is. Yeah, he's with the Bucks, right? I don't see him leaving the Bucks anytime soon. But interesting idea for sure. Sober says, well, it can't get worse, so I'm with him one more year. Hopefully, we could only go from here, right? CJ says, sounds like a coach who knows he's done. Silo Ren says, Joe must go. Sober Party says it was OBJ in reference to what, I'm not sure. AB says, Judge must stay. Mark Primetime says, what up, Hub? Thanks for allowing me to be in your Yahoo Fantasy League. Had fun in winning that league. Bet. Thank you for letting me know. Mark Primetime, hit me up on my social media. I am giving out, free merch to those who win that. So anybody that was in my fantasy leagues and whoever won, hit me up, and I'm going to get it to you. I'm not sure what Mark is going to do with it, though, considering he's a Cowboys fan. But it was the prize, man. The prize was free merch. Ligma says, Hasbullah for head coach. That man's busy with his career, man. AB says, I don't care. Why didn't he come out with that earlier? We still need a whole new training staff and turf. Well, I don't know. You can't ask me that. I'm not sure. But whether he came out with it in a appropriate time or not doesn't exactly change what happened. You know what I mean? Let's see here. Antonio Brown remains in New York as he's currently netside the Nets-Grizzly game. Yo, that man AB has gone crazy, in my opinion. I mean, he's always been crazy. I was never really too much of a big fan of him. But let me drop this link for all of y'all. Feel free. Call in. You know what I'm saying? If CJ's still in here, I haven't spoken to you in a minute, my man. Michael says negative passing yards. Yeah, I kind of went crazy about that. Oh, man. Yeah, but yeah, anybody feel free to call in. Let's get it going. Let me also pin this message right there. Bam. I meant Todd Bowles. What do you say about Todd Bowles? Joe Schoen and hire Todd Bowles. Who is Joe Schoen? Let me look this man up. From the Bills. Well, apparently he's a Washington football team GM candidate. Joe Schoen. Oh, he's the assistant GM for the Bills. Okay, bet. What up, Zach? How you doing? Says, how we doing, fellas? Not sure. How long he's been with the Bills? I can't find like a career page on him or anything. All I'm seeing is that he's a Bills assistant GM. Either way, we got the first caller tonight. CJ, what's up, man? How you doing? It's been a minute, bro.
It has been a minute, Kush. Happy New Year. Hope you had a happy holidays, my friend.
Hey, happy New Year's to you as well, man.
Yes, thank you. I am also currently, not to plug my own shit, celebrating
Feel
my
free.
27th. I am celebrating my 27th birthday today, so.
Oh, yo, happy birthday, man. How's the birthday going? How you spending it?
Very well. Work went pretty well. Me and my family are going. We're going bowling tomorrow. As soon as I get off of work, just wanted to give a shout out to you guys. I did check out your stream earlier today. It was awesome. But first of all, 2-part question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I've ever done this, at least on your channel. Have I ever ranted on your channel?
Maybe like I can't remember it. I wouldn't doubt if you did, but like it's probably so little if you did.
Because and in all honesty, and I'm trying not to sound like a contentious prick when I ask this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious as to know what players are pounding on the door to wish that they were back here. Besides Mike Glennon, besides Nate Sewell, I mean, where else are these players are going to steal $10 million from? Who else? But in all honesty, and for most people that know me, they know I am a very pretentious and a very patient person. However, um, what boggles my mind about this whole situation is this. And we could preach culture, stability, environment, all that. When honestly we had Pat and McAdoo, the culture was a beyond disaster. But on the contrary, wow, those coaches were failed culture builders. Those coaches at the very least could run at least a semi-competent level performance, even with the amount of players that we've had injured this whole year. Mm-hmm. So here's my honest question. Let's just say, for the sake of argument, okay, the Giants were able to close out most of those ball games that we were in early this year. And let's say this team is hovering around 4 or 5 wins at the halfway point. Okay. Then the injury gods curse us, and we have the disaster that we have. Mm-hmm. If that were the case, would we be as pessimistic or as down on Joe Judge as we would be currently?
If we didn't have injuries, you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is, like, let's say the Giants had closed out most of the ball games that they were in early in the year. Mm-hmm. And then we're coming off of the bye week. I forgot who we played coming off of the bye. Tampa and Philadelphia.
Yeah, we played Tampa, yeah.
And let's say after those 2 games, then at that point the injury gods cursed us. So the Giants at this point are hovering around 5 or 6 wins. If the injury gods had cursed us the way we did, and we have fallen off the map, would we be as down or pessimistic about Joe Judge had that been the case?
So you're saying by week 12, instead of having 4 wins, we have 1 more win.
5 or 6 wins, yes.
1 to 2 more. It's a great question because I'm not sure how much just 1 more win would change it. 2 more win is a bit more. 6 wins by week 12. It definitely makes me question it, but I'll say this: it depends how we handled week 13 to 17, right? Because part of the reason we're all like, there's a lot of disappointment right now, and a guy like me who was like on the fence with bringing Joe Judge back or not, and now I'm kind of leaning towards I don't want him. A lot of that reason is because of the preparation. It just seems like we weren't prepared from weeks 13 to 17 in those games. So it depends, right? If it's the same result with the same way of no preparation, then I feel like we'd still be a bit angry. But if we see a bit more preparation, if we see the team fighting, or not necessarily fighting, but actually competing, not putting up 3 points, not putting up 9 points, and that's also part of it as well, because like even with DJ out, right, the offense should not be as bad as it is. For crying out loud, the Texans scored 41 points a couple weeks ago with Davis Mills. So it depends on all that. I'm gonna keep it real with you. And by the way, shout out to Yuvraj in here and Cowboy X Factor. How y'all doing? Michael B as well.
I say all that to say this. Even had the worst case scenario had come to be, if the Giants had come out this year and won 5, 6, 7, 8 games at most, I would be the first fan to come out and say Joe Judge deserves another shot. Okay, he had a terrific rookie year, at least towards the second half of the year. This team was in it. This team was in the playoff. This team was in the playoff picture for most of the year, and then we got hurt. Okay, you can't account for at least this many injuries. However, because this offense is so prehistoric, it makes my great-grandmother, who had passed away, God rest her soul, over 20 years ago, the fact that this offense makes her look young, There, there's no point in defending this. Yes, I acknowledge the offensive line is a disaster. Mike Glennon is even a bigger disaster. But, and I've said this on Logan's channel, offense should not look this hard. It really shouldn't. Even with the offensive line problems, I've seen offensive lines with Eric Flowers and Bobby Hart as the two tackles, and yet the offense has looked better. It makes no sense. I can understand rebuilds do not take overnight. Generally, most rebuilds take at best 2 to 3 years, or sometimes bare minimum. But it does not take 5 years. Joe Judge, he could be a great head coach. Plenty of great head coaches have gotten fired on multiple occasions. Bill Belichick has gotten fired. Pete Carroll is probably going to get fired again. Freaking Andy Reid got fired. In no way, shape, or form do I think Joe Judge is incapable of being a good coach. But it does not look like it's going to be here. And he's cracking under the pressure more and more each press conference come by. So,
I mean, yeah, right. Like, you were producing the hypothetical, but when we talk about real life, specifically towards that last comment you made, that 10-minute rant, what did that actually tell you? Forget what he said in it. What did that 10-minute rant actually tell you?
This screams of a coach that knows he's done. Mm-hmm. Now, yes, did Joe Judge get delivered a bad hand? Sure. However, it does not take 5 years. It does not take more than 3 years to build.
It can sometimes. It can. So I feel like there isn't a general set rule. It could definitely take a while. Yeah.
Depending on the circumstances. But it is so ironic how I have been clamoring for Joe Judge to be let go after the Eagles loss. Just as that happened 2 or 3 weeks ago, Joe Judge, no word on him being on the hot seat. Now, all of a sudden, Mara and Tish are willing to let whatever general manager to bring in have full say on whether or not Joe Judge is to be let go or kept. Now, all of a sudden, you see a coach that knows he's done.
And or at the very least knows he's not as safe as he thought he was.
Oh, absolutely not. This man knows it. This man knows that if he, regardless how the team performs on Washington, this is a coach that knows if he does not put on his best foot forward here on out, whoever is the general manager, he's going to give Joe Judge the outs. And I'm going to end my argument by pointing this out. Let's just say the Giants hire an outsider, and whether or not they keep Joe Judge or not. If the Giants bring back Joe Judge, and the fact that they're going to have little to no roster changeover by the time we roll next season around, what is more likely? That Joe Judge changes up his style and this team puts out at least a competent performance, or the team quits on him.
So for me to answer that, you got to tell me what they did in the draft.
Well, yeah. Let's say they hit the draft out of the park. They completely revamped their offensive line. Okay, free agency. They get another so-so pass rusher to complement Aziz and Roche, and they bring.
That's it, right? Because you said there's not much roster change.
Exactly.
So here's the thing: if they revamp the offensive line off of that, I will go ahead and say that he does change his philosophy a little bit, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Even though I agree with you, it shouldn't be as big as a crutch as it is. We've seen teams with bad offensive lines put up more than 3 points. I think I feel like that's part of his philosophy, having a serviceable line or like an average line before he wants to do anything. But I think a combination of that and also a combination of just reactions from the fans this year with how it was, if they revamp the O-line and he's here, I gotta say that he changes up his philosophy. I feel like I gotta say that.
Because I am having a hard time. I am having an extremely hard time at believing that. I think this is a coach who I think is very much stuck in his ways. He wants the team to embody his own image. And I was just saying this to my best friend early on. Why do we have this many cooks in the kitchen on offense, and yet it looks exactly the same from week one? We blame Jason Garrett. He's gone. We brought in Russ Callaway as a promotion. Freddie Kitchens is here now. Why does the offense look? How come the offense doesn't look as different as it did 3 or 4 weeks ago? And even with the injury concerns, when we were fully healthy, this offense was stuck in the mud. Mm-hmm. So I'm having a very hard time at believing that Judge is going to change up his style, even if we do make some drastic changes. So at this point, I'm like, you know what? Hire an outsider. Let him make the final decision on Judge. But if it's up to me, I don't think Joe Judge should be back, and I don't think he will, because.
Let me quickly address a couple of these comments here. So, Cowboy X Factor, if you're still in, like I said, feel free to call in. Y'all already know I welcome anybody on the stream. I see a couple of Eagles fans in here as well. Big Play Slay is a semi-regular caller. I know that man's excited. Feel free to call in. I know you definitely gonna want to gloat about your Eagles making the playoffs. And hey, like I said like I said on Philly Notion stream, I'm gonna give props to the Eagles. At week 12, the Giants and the Eagles were in the same place, and the Eagles they trended up and we trended down. So I gotta give props to the Eagles. As much as a lot of Giants fans don't want to do that, because guess what? I was one of the people that said they were going to be a non-factor this season, and they were the exact opposite of a non-factor. Yuvraj says David Mills is goated. Jack Johnson says my thoughts on the Eagles making the playoffs. I guess I just kind of gave them. AB says we rebuilded 4 times in the past 10 years. We never finished the rebuild. I could count 2, right? Shermer and Judge was the other 2. Yeah. We definitely didn't finish the Shermer rebuild. We cut it short. And that's also one of my fears, even though I'm not a Joe Judge fan. I've always said one of my fears is, always letting go of a head coach 2 years in and not necessarily finishing the job. But we're not sure how that's going to affect it, right? Michael B says, I think we would have been good if we had a better QB. We should have parted ways with DJ last season. A lot of people do believe that. I've said that Daniel Jones is not the biggest problem with this team, but he's also not necessarily the solution. People are annoyed with that answer, but I honestly think it's what perfectly encompasses him and this team. And once again, my bad. I'm just trying to get these last couple right here. AB says a good O-line carried the Eagles. The Eagles have one of the best O-lines in the NFL, but we're not about to make excuses for having a great O-line, though, are we? Like they did build that over a couple of years. But yeah, once again, guys, the link is in the chat. Feel free to call in and go ahead, CJ.
Yeah, no, I was just about to point out how it's amazing how the Niners, the Bengals, the Browns, the Eagles, the Lions now have turned over their entire roster within a year. And yet, we are.
Let's backtrack.
Well, not the Lions.
Turning over their entire roster and then being competitive is not the same thing. They're being competitive. And in the case of the Bengals, what I'm saying, they're like top of their thing. But they didn't turn over their roster. None of those teams that you listed.
Well, who is left from the Browns from the Hugh Jackson era other than Baker?
You said in a year, man. So we're talking last year to this year.
Not in a year. It's about how the Bengals, the Browns, the Lions, the Niners, all 4 of the Eagles, all five of those teams were just in massive rebuilds just a handful of years ago. And within 2 years, overloaded their roster like that. And other than Burrow, none of those teams have a star quarterback. None of them.
Eagles. What were the other one you listed?
I said Niners, Eagles, Bengals, Browns, and now the Lions.
The Lions. What are the
Well, the
Lions doing,
Lions are
bro?
just
What?
now starting to rebuild.
Yeah. So I was like, you can't throw in the Lions in there.
But Bengals are the only Bengals between the Bengals, Browns, Eagles, and the Niners. Only one of them has a great quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
So don't tell me it should take 3 or 4 years to turn it around. 2 years, 2 to 3 years max. And so again, if they hire the right general manager and he wants to keep Judge, by all means. But if this team is going to make a massive turnaround, it starts by getting rid of the guy who's just way over his head right now. And then one more thing before I dip. Let's just say Joe Judge gets let go. What competent NFL franchise is going to want to give Joe Judge a head coaching job?
A head coaching job? I'm
Or
not
at
sure
least
if he
even a
if
top assistant job?
I feel like he could get an assistant job. I'm be honest with you. I don't think anybody's
Yes,
gonna.
but that's
If the
about
Giants
it.
let him go, I'd be hard pressed to
He'd
think
be an
any team would give him a head
assistant.
coaching
Or
job.
he'd
But
be an
I
assistant
think he
or a
could
head
definitely.
coach in college.
I definitely think he could get an assistant job for sure. I definitely think that. Yo, AB, I need you to call in, bro, because I really want to have this debate that me and him been going back and forth in the comments. Because the thing is, I feel like I've been very objective and fair with Joe Judge. I rode the fence with him as long as I could, and now I'm only kind of leaning towards like I'm just like I want him gone. But I've also said I don't necessarily mind. Like I know, for example, CJ would definitely mind if Joe Judge is back next year. I wouldn't necessarily mind too much if he's back next year because I'm like it's still his roster. Let's see what he does in another draft, I mean I guess it's like next year is just a year of a bunch of I don't want to say it's a year of waste or a year of last chances, but it just makes financial sense in my
Yeah,
opinion and sense with the roster to kind of keep dudes like DJ here for next year, to keep Joe Judge here for next year, even if, it doesn't necessarily result in winning, if that makes sense. Just continue building the
yeah,
trenches and then replace who you need to replace the following season.
yeah. But that's my feeling. Like if you're gonna start it over as soon as possible. Don't wait a year just because financially we can't get out from under these guys. Like no, clear the decks now. Let Gellerman walk. Let Joe Judge move on. And again, if the right general manager makes the decision to keep Judge, I will be totally fine with it.
Mm-hmm.
However, this is just sounding like a coach. The more and more I hear him, he is trying. He is trying to install. He is trying to install a winning culture. A culture worth fighting for, and yet the product we see is beyond abysmal. There's
Mm-hmm.
no way in any shape or form can you tell me that these are the guys that you are establishing a culture with. I ain't buying it. Last year, bought in full sale. This year, come on, Joseph. You got to do better than this. Okay.
Joseph. Do we know if that's his full name or if it's just Joe? Let me look up that real quick.
I don't care if it is or isn't.
Yeah, it is. It's Joseph F. Judge, man. That's his full name.
Come on, Joseph. You got to get it. You got to get it done, man. Change it. You know what helped turn Coughlin around? He finally changed up his style. Maybe if Joe Judge is lucky enough to keep his job, that's exactly what he has to do. Not none of this rah-rah culture nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But Kush, thank you for inviting me on. Thank you
For sure.
for wishing me and everybody a happy birthday. Oh, and by the way, I love Andrew Garfield. He's not Toby or Tom Holland. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay,
Hey, Andrew Garfield's a good Spider-Man. Like, why
he's
do you
a
have to
great
throw some
Spider-Man.
shade at him at the end?
He's a
Hold
great
up. I'm a
Spider-Man.
guy that I love all three of them. I just feel like Andrew gets unnecessary hate for his movie. And that's the weird part, right? He's a good Spider-Man, but his movies are trash. It ain't
The
his
first
fault that
one is
his movies don't
okay.
make
The
sense.
second one was a nightmare, though.
Yeah, but what was consistent was his performance as a character, in my opinion.
Yes.
But CJ, once again, man, thank you for calling in, man. Hey, have a good one and have a good rest of your birthday, bro.
You too. Talk to you later.
Yuvraj says, have to go, Kush. School tomorrow, LOL. Have a great stream. Hey, man, get that sleep. Get back to school. Y'all already back at school? It's only January 3rd. What in the world? Bro, what? AB says, can't call in at work, sadly. All good. I am going to try and do a couple of these a bit earlier. You know what I'm saying? I know, for example, I talk to some of you guys offline, and sometimes earlier works better. If I have time, I'll go at like 8:30 or something, see if it works better for a couple of you guys. Excuse me, Yuvraj says, in my opinion, I don't want to keep DJ. He's injury prone and I don't feel confident when he's on the field. That's why I want Russell Wilson. I just don't know if with Russell Wilson we could build a competent team, a competent winning team. I feel like he would just be so expensive. And I'm not talking about cap, I'm talking about draft pick wise to try and get that man. I feel like he's going to go for like 3 first round picks. That's a lot. That's a lot. And I know you could build a team without first round picks. The Rams are the best example of that. They just send away their first round picks like it's cheap change or something like that. But with the Giants and the way our drafting has been for the past 10 years, we kind of need our first round picks. We haven't exactly gotten the best talent elsewhere like some of the teams have been drafting well past the first round. Sober Party says, how many wins did Bill Belichick have this many games into his head coaching career compared to Judge? Levance, what's up, man? How you doing? And by the way, guys, for anybody that wants to call in, the link is pinned. I believe I also posted it in the chat a little bit a while ago. Let me look that up right now. So, how many games? Judge's 32 games into his career, right? Let's see. Bill Belichick stats? Would it be Bill Belichick stats? Is that what you call it? So 32, right? So 6 and 10, that's 16. So 16 and 16, 2 full seasons. 6 and 6 is 12 and 113. So he was 13 and 19. Yeah, he was 13 and 19. 32 games into his head coaching career, but let's not go and compare Bill Belichick and Joe Judge now, bro. Let's not do that. I don't think we should do that. That ain't smart. But he was 13 and 19, 32 games into his NFL career. Yeah. Inferno, what's up, man? How you doing? He says, what's good, Kush? Been a while. Got busy with college and everything. But hope you're doing well, in exception to the Giants. I'm doing good, man. Hope you're doing good. Already know I can relate to the collegiate struggles for sure. Let's see here. Oh, yeah. What's the call is going on right now? Steelers and who are the Steelers playing? Apparently, it's Big Ben's last game. You guys know how I feel about Big Ben. I'm not necessarily a fan of the guy. But I'm trying to get a couple of quotes up here for you guys to read. Let's see if Yahoo Sports can provide those quotes. CCC. My bad. I'm just trying to pull up some actual quotes here. Oh, yeah. Let's talk about when he took a shot at the Washington football team, saying we're not a clown organization and that we don't have players fighting each other or throwing fists on the sideline. And then right after that, he took a shot at his predecessor, Pat Shurmur. You know, when he's talking about, when I came in here, these guys weren't a team. These guys were planning vacations. They stopped going to meetings. Let's talk about that for a second. Joe, you're making it very hard on yourself to get people to stay on your side. The Washington football team is doing better than us. They're not doing as good as, their fans or themselves thought they would have been doing, but they're doing better than us. I believe, have the Washington football team even been eliminated from playoff contention yet, or are they still technically in playoff contention? They're 6-10. The Eagles are 9-7. I think they're technically still in playoff contention, right? Listen, bro. You're not doing yourself any favors by attacking any other head coaches, any other organizations, or anything like that. We are currently one of the worst teams in the league. It will be best if you don't do that, especially before you have a Week 18 matchup with the Washington football team. You just gave them so much fuel, so much ammunition, just so much extra rage to come out there and play us with. And we're not an equipped team to handle that right now. I keep talking about preparation under this Joe Judge team. We're not the best equipped team to do that. And now he also talked about Pat Shurmur. I'm just like, what did Pat Shurmur ever do to you, man? Okay? At least he won a couple of games toward the end of his tenure here. I mean, you're about to end up getting the same amount of wins as he did his last year, so I'd probably cease fire on that, my guy. And even though you say players are not checked out, they're not planning their vacations and whatnot, we have eyes as fans. We can see how, basically past the second quarter, the team does kind of check out of the game. And I don't necessarily blame them, at least on the defensive side. I don't necessarily blame them because the offense is out here putting up 4 points. Mike Glennon is out here putting up 4 completions and 4 turnovers. The offense putting up negative 10 passing yards. I could understand the defense's frustrations. But even though you say they're not planning their vacations, they're not checking out, we watch the games, we can see after a certain amount of time, they're just like, let me collect this check because it's not worth it. Just putting that out there, Mr. Joe Judge. They're playing the Browns. Thank you for letting me know. Sober Party says, I do like what the linebacker from Dallas is bringing to the team. High passion player, great pickup in regards to Jalen Smith. That's because Jalen Smith is coming here. He's playing with a chip on his shoulder, because his team cut him. This was a guy that a couple years ago got one of the bigger linebacker contracts in the entire NFL, and then he became a free agent, and he bounced around for a while. He definitely has some pride. His pride was definitely hurt. He's definitely playing for that as well, trying to prove that he's not, somebody that fell off or not somebody that didn't earn. I believe he had a Pro Bowl nod at one point in his career, and somebody that didn't earn his contract. So Jalen Smith, yeah, he's playing with a lot of edge to him, which I like as well. Michael B says, no doubt it is what Judge said. What Judge said false was Washington not fighting each other. Wait, what? No doubt it is what Judge said false was Washington. Do you mean to say is what Judge? Wait, what? I'm confused. Hold up. No doubt it is what Judge said false. Wait, it is what Judge said false was Washington not fighting each other. Washington was fighting each other. So what Judge said was not false. What he said was true. Doesn't take away that he's not in a position to be attacking anybody else. I don't know why that tripped me up. For some reason I feel like I can't read now. That tripped me up a lot for some reason. Anyway, and then we got this is right here is from Ian Rappaport, right? Let me share this video. This is from today actually, so very recent. Share screen, Chrome tab, Ian Rappaport. Cool. Can I full screen it? Okay, yeah, cool. I can full screen it.
Quite sound like a rant. Rant just seems angry. This seemed more like a discussion from a coach standing at a podium to his team. And that's one of the things. Remember, Joe Judge learned from Bill Belichick. And one of the things Belichick believes is that a coach uses his press conference not to talk to fans and reporters, but to talk to his team. That was an impassioned plea, speech, pep talk to his team to offer them some confidence and get them to continue to believe. And it seems clear, judging from his words, that, look, the results have been bad. The team has been bad. The quarterback play has been even worse than I think anyone honestly could have imagined. There are a lot of personnel issues on that team, but Judge was telling his team that they have kept fighting. And I know we all heard it, and so all of us in the media make judgments and everything based on that, but that doesn't matter. The audience was his team and the people in the Giants organization, and judging from the fieriness, it seems that it was delivered.
What do you guys think about that? I mean, sure, it could definitely hold some truth. Sure, I could definitely see the person that he was targeting being the team rather than being us. But what do you think about that in general? How do you think the team would receive the message if that's the case? Because I'll tell you right now, 2 players said that they didn't watch or didn't know about what Joe Judge said, which means that if Ian Rappaport is speaking the truth and that was supposed to go to those players, we're not sure if all of them were even paying attention to it, if they really paid any mind to it. The 2 players, by the way, Devontae Booker, I forgot which reporter asked him a question. They were like, how'd you feel about, Joe Judge rants? He was like, honestly, I didn't see it or I didn't hear of it. And then I think Andrew Thomas as well said he didn't hear nothing about it. So just going off of those answers, if Ian Rappaport, you're talking the truth, I don't think it was necessarily delivered and the players actually listened to a shot to Ash Money in here or the Get Back with Ashton guys. Definitely check him out in the chat right now. Josh as well in here. He says, like, I feel we're a good spot. We're O-line and OC away. Are we, though? O-line and OC. Okay, we need an edge. We need an edge. We need a second linebacker, in my opinion. Actually, no. If we get an edge, like a really good number 1 edge, that's a threat that on every passing down, the quarterback fears for his life. That's what I mean by number 1 edge. If we get that, I feel like that honestly completes defense. That could help with the linebacking core. That could help with secondary. So if we get just an absolute apex predator on the edge of our defensive line, that's something, right? We need O-line. We need a good starting O-line, but we also need O-line depth. Let's not forget that. Our starters went out. The reason our O-line is bad this year is because the depth was atrocious. Right? So, predator, starting O-line depth. Good offensive coordinator for sure, 100%. Good offensive coordinator we need. And then I feel like AB, I know you really want to keep DJ. I still might throw QB in there, right? But we're 4 or 5 things away, which is a lot. I'm gonna say that we're 4 or 5 away, not just 2. That's what I'll say. Manuel, what's up, man? How you doing? Hey, yo, who could guess what I know what that picture is? Who could guess what that picture is? How you doing?
What's up, man? How you doing? Happy New Year.
I'm good, bro. Happy New Year, yeah.
Yeah, no, that's the best thing that happened in MedLife this year. Minus all like the monster truck rallies or whatever the hell they do in the summer. But yeah, that's the best thing that happened in MedLife this year.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, if it wasn't for the Giants,
that was hilarious.
Yeah, if it wasn't for the Giants, that probably would have been a bigger story than what's going on in East Rutherford because it's all
if we
bad.
if we didn't set history with negative 10 yards, that would have been the biggest story. Shout out to C-Bands in the chat
when you
as well.
posted your video of that reaction and you laughing and like I thought that was just maybe like, oh, he probably just like I was starting to watch the video. I'm like, oh, this can't be right. He just mistakenly. Then I understood what you were doing. That was a legit reaction of just how like it got to a point where it just sounded like you were broke because that's just how bad this franchise has been, man. It's been so like yesterday was like I don't even know if it was the turning. I don't even know if it was like the climax of it all because we still got the football team who's probably not going to like that bulletin board material that Joe Judge said yesterday in that horrific press conference. That was terrible. Shit show all around.
What do you think about that in regards to what Ian just said? Because I'm not sure how to feel about what Ian just said.
What did Ian say?
Oh, so I just shared a video where he's like, Judge wasn't speaking to, fans or the media. He was using that to speak to the players. And I'm just like, well, what message was he giving the players?
Don't bring your golf stuff to work, but
right? Because I'm like, how is that a message to the players? It just sounds like he's trying to like keep his place. And shout out to Calvin. This is what Calvin says about it, an Arizona Cardinals fan. So, unbiased party. He says he thinks Ian wants to stay non-biased and not answer a difficult question with an honest answer. Just my take.
I think that had to do more with him just trying to talk to like that was yesterday. That to me, I got more from that was that he don't feel safe. He hasn't been told that he's going to be retained. He hasn't been told anything like that. So that sounded like him just trying to make it a point to like really prove to whomever, Mara, Tish, whoever the new GM that's going to come in that this was a way worse show. This was a way worse organization that I stepped away from, that I stepped into. And when I step away from it, it'll be a better organization than when I stepped into it. I mean, it's really hard for me to believe that Joe Judge is going to be safe if there's another debacle like that, especially this one being at home against a rival where you're probably going to have more Washington fans than Giants fans in their stadium.
You know, I'm actually like, I was thinking about that for a second because our last home game, which was the Cowboys, had more Cowboys fans than Giants fans. A lot of Giants fans sold their tickets, and of course, it was bought by Cowboys fans. Like, you saw it watching the game live. Like, you saw the jerseys, you saw that, like, deep blue that the Cowboys wear, and you heard the cheering. Like, when the Cowboys were doing something good, I'm hearing more cheers. It actually made me question while I was watching the game. I was like, I thought this was a home game.
Yeah,
and I
like
saw
when
the
you hear
NFL logo in the middle. I'm like, oh, it is a home game. What's going on?
When you hear like Amari Cooper and everyone doing Coop in stadium, that was
they were all
crazy.
like, Coop. I'm like, hold up.
There's
Giants fans that like Amari Cooper or something?
That was a Pepsi game, right?
That was the Pepsi game, yeah.
Man, that good riddance. They deserve that. They deserve that. And I was on a chat with you right after that game. The same type of show you do, and I was saying like positives about it and stuff like that. And granted, those are still true. You know, five picks in the top 3 rounds. You know, there's a pathway to get this team on the right foot. But at this point, I mean, I think you need. I want John Mara this time next week to look like Will Smith in the last episode of Fresh Prince. Empty, nothing around him, looking around at a completely empty house, empty organization. I don't even want. I'm even thinking there needs to be questions on, like, I know Ronnie Barnes is very respected in that organization, but you need to question the medical as well.
Come on, man. I've been saying that for the longest time. I think we have one of the worst medical staffs in the entire league.
Yeah, and I mean, couple that also with like Dave Gettleman sending guys away for hangnails and saying they got, you know, ankle issues or whatever the case, like kind of having that scumbaggish little thing about trying to like wave dudes off but not pay them their contract because of injury clauses or whatever the case, like that whole Scott Simonson tweet that he was on. I mean,
I shared the entire thread earlier today, man. I mean, earlier in the stream, I shared the entire Scott Simonson thread.
Yeah, like it just looks really, really bad. And I get that a lot of this isn't really on Judge because a lot of this he came into. But also, too, like he was supposed to be a stability. Like in the first 3 games of this season, those weren't that. I mean, I'll say maybe not the first 3 games, but at least the Washington, the Atlanta game. At worst, the Giants should have been 2-1 by that point. That has to be on coaching. There was no excuse. The offense was humming. The offensive line wasn't great, but they were still blocking enough to give. Yeah,
let's remember for the first 7 weeks, our offense was not the problem. It was the defense, and then it switched after like week 7.
Yeah, and even still, like the defense wasn't terrible. Like even in that Washington, the defense, you know, got the interception in the last minute, and if the Giants score a touchdown, all likelihood they win that game. Then in the Falcons game, you know, they hold Matt Ryan to what 17 points, so 14 points. I mean, granted, they dropped a lot of interceptions. I'm not trying to say this is the defense of last year. It definitely has been a regression, but you know, there's a lot of factors behind that. You know, and a lot of factors that weren't the case. Like, who knew what were going to happen with Jabril Peppers? Who knew that Blake Martinez was going to be injured? I thought that this edge rush was a lot better than what it was on paper. I thought Lorenzo Carter could come in and actually perform, you know, like he has been these last few games lately, to be honest.
He's just trying to get a check from somebody.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of factors to me, like on that, why the defense has kind of regressed a little bit as the season went on, and then they've had their moments and they've been up and down, but they haven't been bad. Like if the Giants had a legit offense, this team would be way better, and having a legit offense helps your team overall too, because you can't, after a certain while, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think 17 points that the Bears scored were on like giveaways, were on the takeaways that the offense gave up. I mean, it's not, I don't think this issue, like I would love whoever the new regime is to keep Graham, because I don't think Graham's the issue. I think Graham needs an edge rusher. I think that
he definitely needs to improve, though. You know what I'm saying? I'm tired of waiting at least a month for our defense to get good. It's happened both years. He definitely needs to improve in that aspect.
But don't you think that if they would have had like more of a presence at edge for that on that defense, that they could have been a bit?
I definitely agree. Like if we get a good edge this offseason, whether it's free agency or draft, and by good, I don't want just a good one, like I was saying earlier. I want somebody that's like a legitimate threat, you know, on passing downs.
You have to double team.
not even necessarily have to double team, because at that point I feel we're talking about like, like the elite of the elite edge rusher, but that's just somebody that like quarterbacks know they got to be wary of him. They know in the back of their mind he's coming.
Yeah, and I think Aziz can. Aziz
is still very young, man. Aziz is like literally 21 years old. He has a lot more maturing to do physically and as a player. So I'm not putting any pressure on him right now.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think he's only gonna get like, I like the edge rushers in that field, in that room. I even put Leonard Williams in as well as like a guy who can get after the quarterback. Granted, he ain't Aaron Donald. He isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say he's a top 5 defensive tackle, he's a top 5 defensive lineman in the NFL.
No, I agree.
So I think if you just put some, I think the more I think about it, the more the ideal situation would be the Giants, drafting Evan Neal and George Karlaftis in the first round. I don't really want to get into like draft talk or anything like that, because there's like way more that to get into on there. But I really do feel like the Giants aren't, like, the defense is a few pieces away, but obviously the offense is the one that needs to go through a complete freaking colon cleanse. They need to be the ones that have a complete overhaul this year.
I completely agree with you. And by the way, Ash Money, Inferno, I see y'all in the back. I'm gonna get to y'all in a second. And let me get this comment real quick. Sober Party says, I think Judge is a young coach and he's in one hell of a shit show. And the whole offense is injured. He's feeling the pressure, as he's shown 2 to 3 times this year in his post-game interviews. Like I said earlier, I feel like I've been very, very objective and fair with Joe Judge. There are some things that are in his favor per se. Like, you know what I'm saying? The injuries you can't really control, although I really do feel like, once again, our medical staff is one of the worst in the NFL. We don't allow our players to heal properly. That's a whole other rant. You know what I'm saying? Injuries you can't really control, especially the ones that were knocked out for a year. But, like, we got to look at preparation and stuff like that. We haven't looked prepared in over half of the year. You know what I mean? Rick, what's up, man? How you doing? Josh was saying what you were saying, man. Well, he was like, I blame the defense being bad on us not having no edge rushers. Coaching staff came into the year believing in Carter. LOL. And then, yeah, go ahead. There was something else I wanted to say. I'm gonna try and think of it while you say whatever.
I think there was a lot of I personally think the Kadarius Toney pickup is nice. Like getting not even the trade back part of it, but like picking up a player like Kadarius Toney. You got your big X receiver in Kenny Galladay. You got the guy who can work the middle and who on occasions can be that X receiver in Kadarius Toney. Like, I think I like that 1-2 punch that they have.
Because we could all say Sterling is gone now after that Achilles injury.
All right, yeah, T's and P's of Sterling. I mean, I really do I really do feel bad because, man, he was I like him a lot too, and I really think like he could be I think he can be a contributing factor to a winning football team, winning Super Bowls. Like I think he could have been that type of piece.
He just was never healthy, man.
And it doesn't. I mean, and it really does. I mean, I guess that goes right back to that. The medical team again, right? And what the hell they do. And I know I really hate the shit on Ronnie Barnes because I know he's very respected in that organization, but maybe that's the problem. That he's very respected in that organization, But I think. I mean, I like a lot of what Judge has done, but I think the biggest parts of like if he was as mad as he was yesterday than he was during the offseason, I don't think Garrett would have been back. He should have been more adamant about that. He should have just been like, okay, I'll take my lumps. No, this is your livelihood. You need to take it. He should have been more adamant about drafting O-line. They should have been more adamant about, okay, maybe let's really think about, are we bringing in, if we get rid of Kevin Zeitler, are we bringing in somebody to upgrade? Or are we bringing like the fact like that money could have been divvied up a lot differently when it came to like instead of signing Kyle Rudolph or John Ross.
We could have if we didn't sign Kyle Rudolph. If we didn't, and here's the thing, man. If we didn't sign Kyle Rudolph, if we didn't extend Logan Ryan, we could have kept both Leo and Dalvin or we could have used that extra money somewhere else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that I think Judge could have done better at when it came to like, because I get people want to say one word like, oh, give him his flowers because the defense, that's his hire, that's his coach, that's who we wanted.
What I'm going to ask you right now, Emmanuel, is that from what it sounds like is that you're saying Judge has control of what the GM usually does as well. You're talking about free agency moves.
Maybe, but I think when it came to like, I think the one thing there was definitely things that showed he was probably vetoed, like the Jason Garrett situation and having him and then Colombo last year. Like, I don't think those were his hires. And then we had talked about it a few weeks back. Like he originally wanted a Brian Daboll offensive coordinator. That was his preference. For whatever reason, it just didn't happen as far as getting that preference. And instead, you had Garrett on you and stuff like that. I just don't think Judge has been given the full control that a head coach would in other organizations. Like he hasn't been given that. But that being said,
you want him to be the head coach and the GM then, or
I just wanted him to
be that.
I just want him to just choose his own. I guess what I wanted from the beginning was to give him, like, don't say he's a rookie coach. We're going to put head coaches around him from previous places and help him with that experience. You should have given him the full control for his coaching staff. Granted, maybe that wasn't the best situation because a lot of these coaching staffs is their first time coaching the NFL. So that's probably another thing too. I think all the way around, I think if you should have maybe given Judge some more, of say in the offensive side on the offensive side of things. But that being said, I mean, it still falls on him. Like as much as this hasn't been an issue on Joe Judge's part fully, he still needs to go because he hasn't done anything on the field to prove, even in the season last year when it looked better than this year, but granted, it was only because they were in like the worst division in football. Had they not been in the worst division of football, the season would have been ended in October like this year. But that division helped them kind of just keep sticking.
Yeah.
And then I think it just shows 6 wins last year, probably going to be 4 wins this year. Joe Judge, God bless him. I think it's time for the Giants to just clean it up one more time, clean it up again. And at this point, I think the only difference is they need to, instead of bringing in a GM to do a GM and VP job, they need to bring in 2 separate people to do that job and let those guys have full control. Because like you said a while ago, these guys are businessmen, not owners, not football guys. They're businessmen that own this team. They need to let football guys run it now.
Oh, I agree with that completely. I really don't think the Mara family at all is a family of football guys, so to speak. Shout out to Wild Child in here. What's up, NYG31? How y'all doing as well? I am in favor of the clean sweep, but I'm gonna continue saying it because some people, I feel like it needs to be, or there needs to be a very objective voice, so to speak. I am definitely leaning towards what you're saying, Manuel. I want a clean house so bad. I don't want to have any remnants of any old regime because that's what we've been doing for the past 5 years. There's always one dude that was part of the past regime and he ends up being the fall guy. I don't want that. But I could also see, like, for example, what Sober Party is saying where it's like, and also AB, I agree. Yeah, the turf is 100% playing a part in injuries. I had Miz come on a couple weeks ago talk about the turf. It is 100% playing a part in the injuries. And I don't know why the Maras didn't have natural grass. They could afford to upkeep natural grass. I completely agree with you there. Sober Party said, I think after the team is healthier, they have another draft. Some of that preparedness will go to game management, timeout management, motivation speeches. He will get better. I hope so. And listen, part of the reason I would want him to stay is because this is his roster. He has a lot of contracts here, and the contracts goes to Abrams and Gettleman. But the players that he has here, you know what I'm saying? They're going to be here for next year and maybe a little 2023, but that's it. Let him be here for another year. Don't let whoever the new coach have to come in and then revamp the roster again. That's a whole lot of process. I feel like that's another reason. And then Calvin says, I believe the turf was playing a part in injuries as well. Not a fan of that stuff. Hey, Calvin's lucky. Y'all actually upkeep natural grass with Arizona's stadium. But before I bring on Inferno here, Emmanuel, let me get your last thoughts.
No. Again, man, this is awesome. Appreciate you for doing this, Hub. At this point, I'm just very, like, I just want to I get what you're saying about, Judge and giving him one more year, but I'm just going to put this out here. How many games is this that 5 games in a row that they've lost?
One,
they
two,
lost
three,
the,
four.
they lost
5,
the Dolphins. Yeah, 5 games in a row. They're probably going to lose this Sunday. I don't think anyone really has any faith. Negative 27 yards. They're probably going to lose this Sunday to the football team. So that would be 6 games in a row that they've lost. 7 of the last 6 after the bye that they've lost. 7 of the last 8 that they lost out of the bye. I think a lot of that. I think a lot of that's not going to do any favors to Judge. And I think at this point, I'm short of the Giants scoring 30 points in a loss. I don't see how you can bring back the whole regime again and do some tweaks and say we're going to be better next year when Joe Judge hasn't shown that he is a capable coach. There's a lot of coaches out in the NFL right now that don't have their full roster, that don't have their full team, that have, not the perfect situation in the office, but they still get it done and they still perform. I'll just leave it at that. I can't wait to listen to your show next week. I can't wait to listen to the rest of it right now. I appreciate you guys for letting me on. Go Big Blue. And thank you again.
No problem, man. I appreciate the support. Like I say all the time, without the fans, without you guys, we're not even doing it. But thank you so much, man. Hope to see you next week. Or even if I do get a chance to do a stream tomorrow, definitely hope to see you there. Have a good one, Manuel. Next up, we're going to have Inferno on. But before I bring him on, AB says, fans can't wait 3 to 5 years. They will want someone new if we go 0-1. You're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. Wildchild says, it's all up to the new GM to decide who is Judge staying or leaving and who's coming in as offensive coordinator. I hope they actually give him that power if we get a new GM. I have a feeling they won't. I hope they prove me wrong, though. And by they, obviously, I'm referring to Mara. I would fire Kevin Abrams. If Kevin Abrams stays as the cap guy, I don't mind keeping him. He's a pretty good money manager. You know what I'm saying? Ash says the Eagles fired a Super Bowl winning champion, hired Nick Sirianni, and he took that team to the playoffs in the next year. You're right. Inferno, what's up, man?
Yeah, not much, man. How about you?
I'm good. Happy New Year, bro. How you doing?
You as well. So I just want to let you know, like, I am having a little bit of network connectivity issues. So if something happens, that's why.
Okay, but all good for now. You're coming through pretty well. How do I answer that question? I'm at a point where the Giants, or I'm definitely like, a lot of my energy is sucked out from the fandom, if that makes any sense right now.
Sorry, you actually broke up because my internet. Can you repeat that again?
Yeah, I was like, I'm at a point where the Giants, where it's like a lot of my energy that was into the team and into being a fan is kind of sucked out right now.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, as you know, I'm an Eagles fan. Like, whenever we were going down that bad stretch, like after we won against Atlanta, like we went to that bad stretch of like we went like 2-5, and I was like, I didn't give up on Nick Sirianni because I was on like Nick Sirianni's side since we've hired him, or since the Eagles hired him. But I was kind of getting a little skeptical, and I was just getting drained. It's like I don't know how I feel about this team at the moment. Mm-hmm. But then that we started going on a like we actually booed Nick Sirianni into running the ball, and like I think the problem in terms of like Joe Judge's case, I think he's a little too stubborn with his philosophy. Like mm-hmm. he doesn't seem to like listen to the fans or like try to change up like what he's trying to instill in the offense or like for the whole team in that matter. I just think he's too stubborn. Right, like, for example, like Nick Sirianni, like, it did take him a little bit, but, he adapted, he changed, he listened to the fans, and, now we're in the playoffs, I mean, albeit, like, we beat some pretty bad teams, but, we had no business making the playoffs, to be completely honest. Like, I did not even
Really? You're actually the first person I've heard say that, like, that's on the Eagles side.
Well, I remember when I was on your show, when you guys were on when Tana was doing the call with you, and I was on the call as well. But I said that I could see the Eagles going 6 and 6. I think it was I think it was 6-11, 8 wins if everything goes the Eagles' way. But I didn't think we were going to make the playoffs. I still thought we were going to be last in the division, because obviously Dallas is better, but I did not expect us to make the playoffs. Like all I really wanted to see the Eagles do was just be competitive and make improvements, which honestly they've exceeded expectations for me. So do you have like any questions for me in terms of like Giants questions that you would like to hear from an Eagles perspective?
I actually have a couple of Eagles questions just because, I have you on here. But I'll get you with some Giants ones. But first, shout out to Brotz for putting this news in here. I didn't know about it. I'm not sure if everybody in the chat did. But yeah, Mike Glennon had wrist surgery and Fromm is slated to start Week 18. Not very excited about that. I was never a Fromm guy, even though for some reason some Giants fans wanted to be a Fromm guy. Hey, it is what it is, man. We're going to see what happens. I'm going to be at that game. So if I meet any of you guys, that's really going to be the highlight of that game, just meeting people, hanging out in the parking lot, having a good time rather than the game itself. Giants questions for you. I gotta ask you. I agree with the philosophy part. It's literally since week 1, bro. If you go back and look at my reaction to the week 1 against the Broncos game, I laid it into to Joe Judge. I hated the way he coached that game, and I hated the philosophy. And for like the first 6 weeks of the season, those were very consistent talking points of my reaction videos. So I agree with you there. He's way too stubborn with his philosophy, and I don't know why. Super conservative. It's not out the 90s like people are saying. No, it's like out of the 70s or 60s, honestly. Like we're putting up like 11 points a game, and in the past couple ones, it's like 3 and 6. Anyway, a Giants question for you is, would you fire him? Right? Like, would you, as an outsider say it's time to go, or do you give him that third year?
I would fire him. As an Eagles fan,
Okay.
I would say give him a lifetime contract because that's how
I've
I
been
feel.
seeing that on Twitter. I've been seeing that.
No, but if I'm being like objective, I'm firing him. He seems to be way too incompetent. Like I understand, like he doesn't like there's no O line. His whole roster's injured. Like he didn't get to pick his own coaching staff. Like, and I understand those points, but the thing that I have a problem with, and like I said, it's just the way like he's stubborn with his philosophy. He doesn't seem to be willing to make any adjustments. Like I was trying to think here, like this, like Nick Sirianni, like you like I said, like I didn't think we were probably gonna like win 6 games, but like Nick Sirianni, he was handed probably one of the worst rosters I've seen like a rookie head coach probably take on, like at least since I've been watching the NFL. I mean, obviously we had a very good offensive line, but like people were having us like think we weren't going to win more than 4 games. People are saying that we were going to be like the third worst team in the NFL. And, obviously, like, it's because of our offensive line and because of like our running game, which is why we are in the position we are in. But at the same time, like pretty much it was nearly almost the same squad that Doug Peterson had, but it was the exception of like Carson Wentz. And then, we didn't have Devontae Smith, but we pretty much had like the same players.
Mm-hmm.
But you see Nick Sirianni taking the reins, and he's already like sorry, I'm just trying to gather my thoughts here, but like he took the Eagles to the playoffs. Whereas I'm seeing with Joe Judge, it's just like Joe Judge just does not seem to know how to like put his players in the best position to win.
And I'm glad you said that, because then when he was hired, he said we're not gonna force square pegs into round holes. And I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what we've been doing, especially on the offensive side of the ball. We haven't used players to their strengths. We haven't been putting them in positions to be successful. Best examples to use, Kenny Galladay. I don't think we've ever thrown that man the ball in a contested situation. We barely use him in the red zone. I mean, he has 0 touchdowns on the year, for crying out loud. Same thing with Kadarius Toney when he was healthy. Like, same thing with Daniel Jones. Barely utilized, just going down the field deep. And you don't need, like, elite protection on the O-line for plays downfield to develop. Justin Pennick, I remember talking Giants at some point during the season, actually did a breakdown, and the Giants O-line got like at least 2 seconds of protection, which is more than enough to go down deep at one point in the season. You guys know what I'm talking about if you follow.
Right.
If you follow Talking Giants on Twitter. But even then, we don't. For John Ross is another one. John Ross has been nothing for good for us, and we've completely underutilized him. Every time we threw him the ball, he fixed his problem of having occasional hands. He came down with it. And anytime we targeted him, it was deep, and I think he got a touchdown out of it. But we don't use him. Like, we've done the exact opposite of putting players into positions to be successful.
Right.
I got another question here from the chat for you, Inferno. It says, does getting Saquon the ball cause any fear he'll do damage or no? Like, from an Eagles fan, if he's getting the ball against you guys.
I mean, it kind of depends. Like, because like obviously, like I think it was like especially his rookie year, he gashed us. Like he gashed our defense. But I mean, I'm not necessarily like saying like I'm not afraid of him, but it's not like as much as it was back when like he was a rookie before he had all of his injuries. I really do think that the injuries have him hampered Saquon a lot, and as a Penn State fan, like I do feel bad for him because he didn't deserve to get injured. He didn't deserve to, get, have as bad of a downfall as he's had. Now, he's
If there
definitely,
was one bright side from the this past game against the Bears is that he did look really healthy. I think he was averaging at least 4.6 yards per carry or something like that. He finished the day with 100 plus rushing. The first
yeah,
time all year he's looked healthy. If there was a positive to take away.
yeah. I mean, definitely, like he was pretty much the only positive takeaway from that Bears game. But I mean, it's kind of weird because I don't think the Bears have the best run defense. Like they have a competent one, but it's not the best. But I give credit to Saquon. He bounced back and he managed to, go over 100 yards, which I respect. Which I give him respect for that. But you know, still though, like if the Giants do keep him, if they extend him, or if they get his fifth option. I'm still.
Well,
I'm afraid of
we
Saquon.
picked up the 5th-year
I'm
option,
afraid
so
of
he's
Saquon.
gonna be here.
Oh, I didn't even know that. So.
Mm-hmm. You still there?
Okay. Yeah, I'm still there.
Okay. Yeah, no. So we picked up the 5th-year option because you got to pick it up before the 4th year starts, I think, or like the off season of the 4th year or something like that. So this past off
Okay,
season that
gotcha.
went by, we picked it up.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And then let's see here. Nothing else. But my question for you as an Eagles fan, you say you weren't sure if your team necessarily should be in the playoffs, but they are there now. And like, how do you think it's gonna go? One and done, and would you be happy with that, or and like, what do you think?
If I had to guess, I'm saying we're one and done, and that's
Mm-hmm.
just primarily for the fact that like we're not a good first half team. Like you look at like the game, like our final matchup versus you guys, the game versus Washington. Like we've had some very slow starts, and we can get away with that because we're playing bad teams. But when we're playing playoff teams, like I think we're projected to play the Buccaneers at this moment. I'm not entirely too
Mm-hmm.
sure, but like if we play against like the Buccaneers or Dallas, like if we keep on having the slow first half starts that we've been having, we're done. Like
Mm-hmm.
we make good second half adjustments, but when we play teams of that caliber, we'll be already done by like the time that we make any adjustments. But
Mm-hmm.
if I'd be happy. Like even if we were one and done, I'd be happy just because I didn't even expect them to make it playoffs. Now while it does hurt our draft and all that stuff, like I'd rather win. I'd rather like win, make the playoffs, even if it were one and done than a draft pick. I'm not the type of person who's like, we need the highest draft pick. Now, if we weren't in the playoffs, then obviously I would have won, to have the highest draft pick possible. But we're in the playoffs now. I think, whether
Mm-hmm.
regardless of whether we lose or win, like I'm happy with how the season is, and it's definitely good momentum going into next year.
Mm-hmm. Listen, man, Inferno. Thank you for calling in, man. It was a pleasure speaking to you. I guess I have one last question. Do you want us to beat Washington, or how do you like? Are you gonna be rooting for the Giants on Sunday to beat Washington, or are you just gonna be paying attention to your matchup against the Cowboys?
I have no idea. Like honestly, like I do not like both of you guys, but if I had to pick,
Fair.
I'm not gonna lie. Actually, I would rather see you guys win just to see the look on like the Washington fans like faces, just to get their reaction because I know that they would be very very mad if they lost to, I guess, if they lost to Jake Fromm and the Giants. So I'll be rooting for you guys if I had to root for, either you or Washington.
Mm-hmm. Hey, man, have a good one though, bro. Thank you for calling in. Peace.
All right, thank you. You too.
And last but certainly not least, we got NYG31, man. How you doing? Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you too, man. You saw my video, my last video about John Mara.
No, I did. I'm not even gonna lie to you, bro. What'd you say?
Nah, you know what? The video, I think 2 videos before that, right? I said something about John Mara. I want him to vanish and all that stuff. But when
Mm-hmm.
we lost to the Bears, 3-29, I was really pissed. We only fought for 24 yards. And then I just find out just now from this caller that Mike Glennon is getting wrist surgery. I'm like, why you didn't get wrist surgery a few weeks ago before the Bears game?
Do we
I
know
mean,
when he got that wrist injury though?
I don't even know.
Let me look
I
it up. Mike Glennon wrist injury. I'll look it up right now.
I heard somebody he got wrist injury or something like that. Our caller said that. I don't know, bro. But
So it just says that he injured his wrist. They're not saying when he injured it. So I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if
I'm
it.
glad. Well, I'm
Yeah, go
glad he's
ahead.
not playing anyway. So he's been like trashing Daniel Jones left. I mean, Daniel Jones couldn't play with a broken neck if he has to, but the backup quarterback situation is just so poor. The way that they handle that quarterback situation in the offseason. I mean, you sign Mike Glenn, okay, maybe Daniel Jones won't get hurt this time, but here we go again. Daniel Jones got hurt, and he's out for the season now. We got Mike
Mm-hmm.
Glennon, then we got Jake Fromm, which I'm very surprised about. We signed Jake Fromm. Who is
Mm-hmm.
Jake Fromm anyway? Who the hell is Jake Fromm? Why
Fifth round pick, fourth round pick.
he's a fifth round pick, but he should
Fifth round pick.
he should stay with the Bills. He shouldn't be coming to our team. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I mean, we signed him off of his practice squad. It's not like he had a choice.
I know. But why the Bills got rid of him though? That's what I don't understand.
No, they didn't get rid of him. He was just on the practice squad, so any team could have signed him off of it, and we signed him off of it.
Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, but the Giants could release him next season, right? If they wanted to, right?
They could release him as soon as this season is over, man. Like right after next week, they could release him,
and then he could go back to the Bills or whatever, right? Can he?
Mm-hmm. He could go wherever, yeah.
All right. But you like with John Mara, I'm just so pissed. You could say that Dave Gamble was bad. He was bad at his job for the 4 years, but when Joe just came, he had to save his ass by drafting Azeez Ojulari, Xavier McKinney, Andrew Thomas. Who else?
Who saved who are you saying here?
I'm saying when Joe just came to the picture, he saved Dave Gettleman from the disasters of a draft. Because if Joe Judge wasn't there, Dave Gettleman would have picked Isaiah Simmons in that draft of 2020, and then we won't have no booking left tackle at all.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm glad that Joe Judge came. He drafted all these players.
So what you're saying is that since Judge got here, you're saying he's been the one doing the drafting.
Oh yeah, it's not Dave Gettleman. It's not Dave Gettleman at all. I know it's not Dave Gettleman because
I just want to keep it consistent. Because if you're saying Judge is the one doing the drafting, then that means you also blame Judge for the lack of offensive linemen that we got in this past offseason. Then, like, we didn't draft any O-linemen, we didn't sign any O-linemen.
I blame him, and I blame Dave Gettleman too, because Dave Gettleman should have seen that we need an offensive lineman, but he decided to trade down to get Kadarius Toney.
But you said Judge was the one drafting, so Judge decided to trade down.
Yeah, but I didn't like how he traded down though. But we could have stayed at number 10, maybe pick Rashawn Slater. Or we could have picked Kwity Paye and then double down, pick Azeez Ojulari if we have to. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But we could have tripled down anyway. If we haven't traded down, but we doubled down, which is okay. But we need an offensive line, and I think Joe just missed the ball there though. But I don't know.
Yeah, like we didn't take any offensive linemen. We didn't do anything good in free agency to sign any offensive linemen. We really did a bad job with the offensive line this past offseason.
But last year we did a good job with the offensive line. We picked 3 offensive linemen in the draft: Shane Lemieux, Andrew Thomas, even Matt Peart. But I don't like how they treat Matt Peart though. They treat Matt Peart. But
you've seen Matt Peart play. He's bad. He's trash. You've seen him play.
Yeah, I know, but it's because of the way they developed Matt Peart. Because you gotta remember, Andrew Chong was bad last year. He gave up sacks.
I made a whole video on that though. That man was playing on an injured leg. I feel like people forget that.
Oh yeah.
The entire year he was playing on a bad ankle.
I forgot about that. Yes. Yeah. But you could say Shane Lemieux is bad too because he only could run block. He can't pass block.
Shane Lemieux had the worst pass blocking grade in the NFL, I think. And then going back once again to this year, if you're saying Judge was the one doing the drafting, he didn't say to himself, "We need to replace Shane Lemieux." He kept him, and Shane Lemieux was our starting guard at the beginning of the year.
I don't know, man. I mean, I don't think when you pick drafted players, I don't think you could get rid of them right away because they trash. You just gotta learn how to develop them and make them become,
But you definitely also got to
decent.
recognize when it's like, all right, we should get more people at this position in here.
Yeah, I know, and I hope someone hits on these offensive tackle because we need to double down the offensive tackle in the first round. We can't go in the second round, third round to get offensive tackle, offensive guard. We can't do that because our offensive line is so future. Yes, we need edge rusher too, but we could get it later on the round. You know what I'm saying? We could get it like in the fourth, the third round. You could get it in the second round if you want to, but you can't get no edge in the first round at all.
Why?
No matter how good it is. No, because we need two offensive line. We need a center. We need a right tackle. We need a right guard, right? We already have a left tackle, Andrew Thomas, right? We possibly have a left guard in Shea Lemieux if he learns how to pass block, right? Then we still have Nick Gates as a center, you know? But we need to stack up as much offensive line as possible. Because if you don't, then we could have another disastrous season like we have this season. See?
No, I agree with you there with getting on the offensive lineman that we can for sure.
But you know what we need right now? We need a strong safety in this draft too. Because I think Julius Peppers is it? Julius Peppers is going to be a free agent. Jabril Peppers is going to be in a free agent next year. So, you got to.
Well, here's the thing. There's no reason for us to keep Jabril Peppers.
Exactly.
I want to get rid of Logan Ryan.
Oh yeah.
We can get a strong safety in this draft for sure. Especially in the mid rounds. I think we could get it. But also, I wouldn't be surprised or like I wouldn't be opposed if we don't get it. Because I will be fine for just 1 year rolling with Julian Love as strong safety. He's he's been very serviceable these past couple of years, and then in the next year getting a really good strong safety, like the pick that we don't use on a strong safety we use for O-line depth.
Well, I think we should get a strong safety in a draft just in case if let's say Julian Love gets hurt, we need at least a backup safety, at least a backup.
Well, that's if we get rid of the other two, right? If we sign back Jabril for some reason and then Logan is still here, then there's no reason to draft the safety.
You cannot sign Jabril Peppers. He's been injury prone, man. He have not stayed on.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
You can sign him. We got to draft a strong safety, and then in the 7th round we got to draft a punter because if you draft the better punter, you could draft him in the 6th round if you want. Unless we get more comp picks. If we get comp picks, then, we definitely going to draft a punter no matter what. Because Rodney Dixon is just so, I don't want to say the word, but he's not good. He's not good. He's giving us short field positions. Team is taking advantage of us. I wanted to beat the Cowboys so bad, and then I wanted to sweep the Eagles so bad. Now we can't even sweep the Eagles. Now we got to split with Washington. It's a piece of shit, man. The offensive line been a shit show for the whole season. The only thing we need is fix I could say fix the center, right guard, right tackle, possibly left guard. I'm not sure. But we need depth in the offensive line. That's what I'm saying.
I agree with you, man. NYG31, let me get your last thoughts before I pop you out, bro. It's been a pleasure talking.
I hope John Madden get the cat out of his ass and realize that what moves he's doing is not good. You cannot keep Joe Judge. I'm fine with keeping Daniel Jones, but if you're gonna keep Joe Judge, make him the GM of the New York Football Giants. That's it. Make him the GM. Don't make him the head coach because he's a lousy head coach. And that's all I gotta say, man.
Hey, man, have a good one, bro.
You too, man. You too.
And finally, last but not least, y'all, we got my co-host on the Twitter Spaces that y'all need to check out right after the games. It's Vibes. Eli, how you doing, bro?
Man, hanging in there. I'm just happy that I came on in time. My apologies, brother.
getting
Everybody
situated.
works, man. Everybody works.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I definitely heard that last caller, man. Some interesting points there. But I promise in the Twitter Spaces that I'll come on and talk about a couple things, especially the question that you posed too, man. So
At
I'll
the
let you
end, right?
repeat it. Yeah, I'll definitely let you repeat it, and we can kind of chop it up a
So
little bit.
for sure. So the question I posed at the end of the Twitter Spaces, guys, was Daniel Jones was a topic as usual, came up a little bit more than I expected, but I was like, let's think about this for a second. Everybody or a good amount of people point out, whether they're Daniel Jones fans or not, the fact that, let's face it, he was completely different in his rookie year, right? He looked like a different quarterback. Shermer utilized him in a different way. That offense was just different, to say the least. He was a gunslinger, in my opinion, in that
Absolutely.
2019 offense, right?
Absolutely.
And gunslingers take chances. That's part of the reason why he got so many yardage, part of the reason why he had like so many touchdowns, a couple 5 touchdown games, which we never saw for the rest of his career. I feel like the Giants, in an effort to basically take care of his turnover problem, they brought in Jason Garrett. And in that effort to take care of that turnover problem, they said, let's raise his floor, right? Because that's what you do when you make a safer quarterback. And I've compared throughout both of these years now, you have the comparison that Daniel Jones almost looks like, or it looks like they're trying to turn him into a rookie Dak Prescott, where Dak was just a game manager, is what it reminds me of. I feel like they raised his floor, but they took away that ceiling that we saw in 2019. Because there's a lot of times now we don't see DJ throw open his receivers, and he did it a couple times in his rookie year. He did it a lot at the college level because he was the best player on his team at the college level. But he doesn't throw his players open. He doesn't take shots. It's like he's allergic to going deep. He's allergic to throwing the balls in contested areas. He's a game manager now, so I feel like they took away his floor. I mean, they raised his floor but took away his ceiling.
I agree with that. And it's funny that you say that because imagine, and I want Giants fans to kind of break this down too. Imagine Eli Manning being a game manager. What made
Eli
Eli
was a
Manning
gunslinger.
exactly? What made Eli so special was that he was a gunslinger. He took those chances. The Mario Manningham, he threw it in the middle of the field to Tyree. So he made those deep plays, just throwing it up there and having Plaxico go get it. You know what I mean? And this is what made Daniel Jones great in his rookie year. He took those chances. However, yes, the turnovers were high. And a lot of Giants fans was like, oh my God, the turnovers. But at the same time, you want a quarterback that can kind of take those chances to get you to win those games. But the unfortunate part was all those turnovers wasn't translating to wins at that time because the defense was trash. Everything was trash on that particular side of the ball. So at this point, they had the game manager manage him or to have him become a game manager in order to show face to say, hey, this guy's the franchise quarterback, which now you kind of stunted his growth a little bit. So now you got to look at it.
I'm glad you used that phrase, bro, stunted his growth. I'm going to let you continue, but I just want to say, in addition to taking away his ceiling, I think I feel like they could have ruined him, yo. I don't know if that's too strong to say.
You know what? Because how can you come back from that, right? Because now you have, I think he had a 1 year in a Pat Shermer system, if I'm correct? And then he had Jason Garrett for 2. So at that point, mentally, you kind of have a whole different mindset of what you want to do with that football. You know what I mean? So I think they definitely stunted his growth. It's just unfortunate because we won't get to see that potential or that ceiling, that high ceiling that he has. So absolutely, they raised the floor to as what you call it. Forgive me if I can't get it out in terms.
So they raised the floor, but they dropped the ceiling. They took away that ceiling. It's no longer there.
Brother. Absolutely, that ceiling's gone. So Daniel Jones is going to be nothing but a game manager at this point. But they got to open him up.
I really feel bad for the guy. Like, I really do. We talk about how he's not having help at all and stuff like that. But we think about long term for his career, that potential is gone. Like, any potential he had, in my opinion, to being like a legit franchise QB, is kind of gone. Because like these are his like. There's no such thing as developmental year in your 4th, 5th, and onwards, bro. This was his developmental time, and his developmental time is gone. And guess what? He developed into a game manager that's scared to take shots.
That's agree.
That's where he is right now.
But I will tell you this: DJ is a coach's QB. You get what I'm saying? So I think he could come in and actually learn from a coach. It's just you got to get the right coach. Like Eli Manning was a player's like a coach's player. You know what I mean? Like he could be coached, he could be told what to do, and you could form him and mold him in a way. That's Daniel Jones. He doesn't have that natural ability to kind of take the game over. He has to be coached into doing that. And I think if you get the proper coach in there, I think Daniel Jones can possibly get that back. It's just I don't see it with the New York Giants, unfortunately, after
Bro,
this
and
year.
that's what I've been saying, right? It's like whether you like Daniel Jones or not, I feel like people that really do like him are ignoring the biggest thing in this picture right now, which is that his clock is running out.
Yeah,
No matter
absolutely.
what you say, his time with us is running out. Same thing with Saquon, unless like the thing is Saquon is not the quarterback, so he kind of has less pressure. The number 2 overall pick will always be above him. But if Saquon goes out there next year and has an amazing year, it's going to be easier to keep him than if Daniel Jones goes out there and has like an above average year. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I mean, we'll call a spade a spade. I don't see any one of them returning. That'll be a waste of a contract for the both of them at this point. But at the same time and token, it's just sucks, man, because I think Daniel Jones, and I said it in the Twitter spaces, and everybody was like, and you crazy. You know what I mean? I think Daniel Jones can be that quarterback with the proper coaching staff. And I think one of the speakers was saying, hey, Eric Bieniemy. And I was like, yeah, you're talking about an elite coach that can come in and actually coach this quarterback to be great. I think he can do that with an elite coaching staff. But unfortunate, man, it's just we're not going to be able to see it because of that time frame and contracts and etc. They're not going to extend Daniel Jones for millions of dollars. Hell no, I wouldn't. You know what I mean? So it's just unfortunate, man. We won't get to see what he's capable of doing, and the only time we'll get to see that is on a different team. And by that time, you got to say, man, you hope he gets the right coach, because then everything else will be right, and you kind of ruin his career in this league.
Yeah. Shout out to Nate in here. AB says they didn't raise the floor. They removed the room and set it on fire. The O-lineman and the OC are gasoline. We need a good O-line and OC to put the fire out. And I've said that as well. I've said it on the spaces, so I've beaten it to death, Eli.
Yeah.
Give him a 4th year. Kill 2 birds with 1 stone. You guys have heard it. Just fix the O-line in this draft or offseason in general. If he goes out there and he looks amazing, great. You know what? Sign him on a cheap deal. If he goes out there and he looks anything short of amazing, though, and I say anything short of amazing because I think that 2023 QBs have the potential to be amazing.
Would you be happy with his rookie numbers coming into next year?
His rookie numbers? Nah, he had like 3,000 passing yards his rookie year.
You wouldn't be happy with that if he was to bounce back and have that number. Okay,
bro, 3,000 passing yards in 17 games, Eli?
It's crap. In my opinion,
that's ridiculous. No.
Yeah.
If you said like we could take what he did, maybe put it over 17 games, or maybe he had something closer to 4,000. But even then, man, and let's call a spade as well. Eli, is he playing 17 games? I don't think so.
Exactly. Did he miss
I don't think he's playing
year?
17 games.
No, he's not. I don't think so.
That's another major issue for sure. You know what I'm saying? He's injured. He's so.
Well, this is the longest he's been out, right? Because I think every year he's been injured, or at least he missed one game. But this is the longest he's been out. But at this particular time, for this offense to work, I think people will sign up for those rookie numbers. I think so.
I think I think that if they're content with the rookie numbers and they want to extend them off of that, if he does that next year, they need to raise their expectations a bit more.
I agree.
In my opinion.
But would you sign up for that right now with this offense?
No.
Really?
I mean, it depends. Here's the thing. It depends. Are you asking me would I sign up for that? Like, as in for the future? Like, what do you mean by your question?
No.
Really?
Like, forgive me. As far as next season, him having a bounce back year, if he has those, not the exact numbers, but those decent numbers, would you be happy with him to say, okay, let's see if we can give him that 1 year prove it, or maybe give him a 5th year option?
Well, we have to give him the 5th year option right now.
Like, forgive me. Yes, forgive me.
Yeah, we have to give him the 5th year option. Like,
I forget
think
over the
this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
My apologies on that. But
so taking that away, if he has similar numbers, so let's say he goes 24-10 because that's what he did his rookie year, right? So 24-10, definitely an improvement. Let's say he has like 3,200 instead of 3,000 yards, right? Nah, I'm still not gonna give him the 1 year deal because those are stop at QB numbers. They are.
I feel you.
You know what I'm saying? They are stop at QB numbers. I feel like that would be really good. And you know what? I'd be happy for him because I feel like it'd probably get him another shot somewhere else.
I agree. Now, I really, depending on the offensive system, maybe, do you see him as a 30 touchdown QB? 30,
depending
35.
on the offensive system?
Yes.
Do you see him as, for sure.
Okay.
If I see him, it's like you said earlier, if I see him with a coach that knows how to use him and, specifically one that kind of turns him back into a gunslinger-esque quarterback, yeah, I could definitely see him being a 30 touchdown QB. Because I just don't know, like, if we are going to be that team moving forward.
I rated him as a top 15 quarterback in this league, and those are average numbers his rookie year. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
Those are pretty much average. So if he's there and we're winning games with those numbers, I think we'll sign up for that. Not to say that
Mm-hmm.
we'll give him a long-term deal, whatever the case is. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying
Mhm.
that maybe we could hold him here for another year. Hey, prove it, man. We'll give you 20 million, prove it. Even if they can't pick up his fifth year, I get it. You know what I mean? But if he has a bounce back year to where he has those rookie numbers, I think the Giants
Mhm.
will sign him for another year and keep him. I think. I don't know. Until we get that quarterback and fix this team. Because right now,
Yeah.
unfortunately, we look like we're heading down that we're gonna get a new QB eventually. I
Mhm.
don't know. I don't know. I'm just brainstorming here, brother. I'm just brainstorming. That's
And,
what
and
I think about at work.
let me shift it to Joe Judge with his press conference, because we were doing the spaces while that press conference was going on, where he went on the 10-minute rant and everything, and where I
Insane.
made a video today where I was like, listen, that just told me that he's desperate for his job, yo. Like, I don't think anybody that has a safe job is saying all the things he said and going on a 10-minute like rant before reporters even ask
You
a
want to know
question.
something crazy? That is so Nick Saban-esque is the word. Nick Saban always talk through press conferences to like his team or to someone.
And so does Bill Belichick.
Absolutely. So that's all Bill Belichick and the Nick Saban scheme that he's doing. So right now, I don't think it's him saving his job. I think it's more him getting the players in line to say, "Hey, we ain't giving up on you. I'm not giving up on
Mhm.
you." You know what I mean? Like it could be like, "Hey, yeah, it could be that." Again, I don't know, but I think it's more of Nick Saban-esque or Bill Belichick to kind of send a hidden message to the team to say, "Hey, we got to fight. We got to continue to fight."
Mhm.
And then, anyway, I could be wrong on that, but give me your thoughts.
So I literally earlier in the stream I shared a video of Ian Rappaport saying the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm not sure how to feel about it, because earlier today, before I heard that side, because it was during the stream that I saw that Ian Rappaport thing for the first time. Earlier today, I literally saw two reporters say something about two players. One of them was Devontae Booker, the other was Andrew Thomas. The things they asked the players is, what do you think about what Joe Judge said in the press conference? Devontae Booker said, oh, I didn't know he said anything that like was some of note. Andrew Thomas said, I didn't really get to look at it yet. So I'm like, if he was really trying to talk to his players, at least it seems like it didn't get through to two of them. One of them being your franchise left tackle,
Yeah.
And if he was trying to do that, I'm trying to know what in there was supposed to lift his players' spirits. Because you look at what he says, Eli. It just sounds like he's trying to rationalize why he should keep his job. He's like, oh, this isn't a clown show. We're not fighting on the sidelines. How does that hype your players up? That's just an observation. That's you telling the fans, in my opinion, we're not fighting on the sidelines. We're not disruptive with each other. He's like, oh, guys are in here. They're not with their golf clubs. They're not planning vacations like they were before I came in. That's just a shot at Pat Shermer. That's not necessarily something to uplift your players. Like, there's nothing in there that I'm like, where's the message? What message are you giving your players?
I respect
You're just
that.
listing off observations.
And I respect that. And that's the same thing that's posted on the New York Revival Twitter is Ryan Clark's on First Take, where he was just going into Joe Judge, man. Basically saying that I think we're giving him, he's letting you guys know the measure. I'm trying to get the exact word, forgive me, but let me paraphrase as best as I can. But Joe Judge is kind of giving you guys what he's doing, but there's no measuring stick to what he's doing. So we can't say, okay, well, he has a good offense. He just says, oh, the culture is good.
What's his name did say that, Ryan Clark, right? I saw that. I agree with him so much.
And I was like, man, I agree with that. But I'm just like, man, this is so, like, for me, and this is just for me, this outside looking in, I'm like, man, because I've seen a Nick Saban press conference, I've seen a Bill Belichick press conference, and I'm like, this guy really thinks he's them and thinks he can get the team rallied by this BS. You know what I mean? I'm not buying it. I think Joe Judge, and I'll stay on his bandwagon, I think Joe Judge should be relieved of his duties at the end of the season, hands down. But at the same time and token, I'm like, maybe, listen, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you was talking to your team. Maybe you wasn't pleading for your job, but he should be.
I just don't see how.
I respect it.
I don't see how he was talking to his team. I really don't. I don't get it. Somebody's gonna need to tell me how he was talking to his team.
So you know what? I will send you, because this is what draws my conclusion. I will send you some Nick Saban joints to take a look at, and you can just say, okay, psychologically, you can see what he's trying to do. In my opinion, again, I could be totally
so here's the
wrong
thing,
with
right?
this.
You could send them to me, and I'm still gonna be going back and looking like, what part of this as a player am I gonna listen to and say, you know what I mean?
I respect that. No, I respect that.
But okay, continuing on with Joe Judge, or not Joe Judge, but the Giants organization in general. Did you get a chance to read the Scott Simonson tweets?
I looked at it, but I don't remember them. So if you can refresh my memory, I think I saw something today where this refreshed my memory. I'm sure I saw something in the midst of everything that I see.
So Scott Simonson, right? He was basically the first thing he did was say this was a while ago as well. This was actually back in December 22nd, but it popped off now, where he was like, Dave Gettleman is not a good general manager, and he's like, in my opinion, not necessarily a good person because of the way he handled Scott Simonson's release. But where it got really good, and I was like, okay, it's not just a scorned players when he started talking about the medical staff, which on the Spaces I've been going off on for a couple months now. So I'm going to ignore the Dave Gettleman things because I think that's maybe just him being a bit scorned. But the medical staff thing with a particular doctor.
It's true, though. Huh? Before you go on to the doctor, it's true with Dave Gettleman. He's not a good person when it comes to releasing
from players. Everything we heard
it from Steve Smith. We heard it from all the other players in Carolina that he released, that he's just not a good guy. He doesn't care. So that part I believe as well. So you got to take that and go, okay, there's some validity to that.
Oh, there's definitely some validity to it. I just think the more important thing was the medical staff.
So that makes you believe the medical part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so because he was like Dr. Rodeo, and he called out the doctor. He was like, the Giants need to look into this guy, Dr. Rodeo, which is a weird name, but he was like, he's been he doesn't diagnose players properly, because he says, going back to my 2019 quote unquote high ankle sprain, Dr. Rodeo told him it would be like about a month to 6 weeks, and it's 2 years later and his ankle's still not good. And other opinions from other professionals said he should have gotten a surgery right away and stuff like that. And Scott's been trying to get in contact with the Giants and Dr. Rodeo through the NFLPA, and there's been no response. And you know what I've been saying, once again, I said it on the Spaces, I've been beating it on dead horse on my own streams, where I'm like, I feel like our medical staff is probably the worst in the league. This just adds to that.
I agree. And I think our medical staff is dated. I think it's the longest tenured doctors that are there, in my opinion. Not my opinion, but I think with all the research I did, they're the longest tenured medical staff that's there. Forgive me, I am tired, but I'm going to get this right today for you. but I think so. And I think as far as that, like, there has to be changes made, because the fact that we're all thinking the same thing, and he actually said it, right? He actually said it, and it kind of...
And Eli, how many ankle sprains have we had in the past couple of years? Imagine how many of them have been misdiagnosed or like haven't been given the right amount of time. Wasn't it just this past week or 2 weeks ago? I'm like, we don't give our players time to recover?
Absolutely.
Like, that's exactly what Simonson is saying.
Kadarius Toney, right? Look at Saquon. Look at Kenny Golladay. All of these guys were in and out of the lineup all year. Even Sterling Shepard, to where he unfortunately ruptured his Achilles. You know what I mean? So again, you got to start the question, like, are we rushing these guys back? And you said that a lot. You campaigned that a lot, Kush. That's one thing I not to say one thing, but that's one of the things I give you credit for, is that you was like, look, take a look at this medical staff way before I've seen that tweet, or way before that we can even look at it. But bro, you have to look at that staff and you have to say, okay, changes have to be made. What are we doing? Because the last time that was an upgrade, and I believe it was Ben McAdoo who hired someone that's in the strength conditioning area. But other than that, there hasn't been any upgrades there. So
there was a change. A viewer brought this up to me. I haven't had the chance to look into it, and so I'm gonna paraphrase what they said, because it was a while ago, where they were like, after the 2017 season where we had all those injuries, we either made a change or we brought somebody in the 2018 season, and in 2018 we were actually relatively healthy.
Right.
But then I'm not sure what happened to that person, whatever, because 2019 onwards we've kind of been very injury prone since.
Trash. And again, that's something John Mara has to look at, and look in the mirror and try to fix that. And again, I'm tired of hiring the good old boys. Go hire somebody outside that's going to hold these people accountable to do their job and do it well. So it's just so frustrating, because we had to get to this point in order for the entire organization to fix itself. Like like this is exactly where we're at as an organization, and it's scary, man. We just, and unfortunately we gotta wait, and that's the part that sucks. We can't compete, we can't do nothing, because from the top down has to be reshuffled and reorganized. Forget a head coach, forget a GM. We know that's gonna be changed, but we're talking about medical, strength and conditioning coach. We're talking about all of that stuff that has to be cleaned out and rotated, and
training,
it's about time.
Scouting. And we all know what went down, that whole Twitter thing with the scouting staff and stuff. Like, that was ridiculous.
Listen,
did you get a chance to read into that?
I did, and here's the crazy part. I had both of these guys in my DMs, and I did a lot of. I'm giving you some exclusive, man.
I was about to say anything you can share to
I'm giving you some
maybe clear up
exclusive.
what's going on here.
I'll say this. I take everything with a grain of salt, man. And
Mhm.
it was more of I didn't. And then this is just for me. This is just for me. I didn't get any proof to say that okay, this is someone that could be of the organization and someone that cannot be. But I've read it and all of that, asked all the questions that I could possibly can. It was just more pointing fingers and pointing blame. And I'm like, guys,
Mhm.
you got to give me something to tell the people because otherwise you're just crying to me. Like I try to get a freaking what is it like give me a badge, give me an employee badge, let me know if you're really there, bro. Like I mean, talking to these guys for 3 days, trying to get some sort of proof of what they're talking about to give to the people to say, okay, well, hey, this person's right, and I couldn't get any. So with that being said, I think it's just a bunch of bickering, or it could be somebody else behind there. But
Is there
I
any
don't
type of
know.
validity to anything that they're saying?
The only thing that I could get was one side of it, and that was the Dave Gettleman issue. That and again, and I'm speaking of confidentiality with some of those guys, but the only thing that they said is that what came out recently is that Dave Gettleman isn't a good guy. It's a toxic work environment and how he needs to go. Like the guy's really not a good guy behind closed doors. And that's pretty much what I could think of. While the other person was kind of bigging him up, and he was naming the players that has a good relationship with. And here's a tweet of Elijah Penny sticking up for the organization, Dave Gettleman, and etc. So, it's all one sided. It's how you take it and how you run with it. So there is some sort of valid points there. It's just you need more, and you be kind of going back and forth with these guys forever, So, but all the stuff that's coming out now is all the stuff they said to me days ago, and I'm just like, okay, and I connect the dots and kind of go from there.
Okay. Well, we're about to go end it off here, but we're going to end it with kind of something that's going on right now. TJ Watt just got a sack on Baker Mayfield. He's officially at 21 and a half sacks on the season.
Ooh.
He's definitely, I think he's going to break Michael Strahan's record for 22 and a half on the season, which I don't want to happen. If he gets another sack, he breaks it like right now if he gets another sack in this game. And so I think that would take away anybody saying, oh, he did it with 17 games if he does it in the 16th game, right? That would be pretty cool, but I don't want it to happen despite that being pretty cool. What do you think about that?
That's pretty dope, man. I mean, listen, Michael Strahan said it himself, all records are made to be broken, right? So why not give it to someone else? And Michael Strahan's a Hall of Famer, Super Bowl champ. He accomplished everything that he can accomplish. So if someone takes his record, it is what it is, man. This guy's already cemented. Michael Strahan is cemented in NFL glory. So
man, I just gotta say, bro, every time I think about TJ Watt, I'm just like, he didn't go high in 2017, did he? TJ Watt.
Take a look. I don't think he was high at all, but take a look.
Bro, he was picked round 1, pick 30. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, of course.
And like from his rookie year, he was a force. That's actually crazy to me that it took 30 teams and he dropped to Pittsburgh.
Isn't that nuts?
I know that you don't go off with the name alone, but I mean, that's JJ Watt's little brother. You telling me you don't think JJ was teaching him some things? Like JJ at the height of his career, right? Like at the height of his prime, people were debating him with LT. That's how good I feel like people forget how good JJ Watt was at the height of his career, man.
I agree. And you know what? And it's just like if he breaks his record, bro, we're watching history. It's a great freaking thing. But what an animal. Like, I think people picked Eli Manning because of Peyton Manning, right? So you see a Watt, you got to be like, yo, take that chance.
Just looking at his career trajectory, it's crazy. His rookie year, 7 sacks. Sophomore year, 13. 2019, 14 and a half. 2020, 15. Last year, 17 and a half. And then right now, he's 21 and a half, and he's going to get
beast,
more.
Bro. That's beast.
That man's only gone up.
He might break it with 2 more sacks added to it.
That's what I was saying. I think he could break it tonight. Like, I think he could get Baker just one more time tonight, and then like he ties it. But I think he could at the very least get it tonight because the Browns, I don't think they're doing well. Their O-line isn't exactly doing too well against him right now.
Nah, and listen, you got a little under 2 minutes left. I mean, I like to see it. I ain't even gonna hold you. I like to see it, man. Like I said, we love Michael Strahan.
I mean, he has 4 sacks against the Browns in this game alone, bro.
That's insane. Number one, and I wish
in this game alone.
I wish we had that.
Right?
He's a sack artist at this point. I wish you could only pray for a lineman like that. But man, he's a special player, man. I'm actually watching a little bit of it now. Special player, man, for real. And I hope he breaks it.
Listen, man, can we get Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson in this draft. That's all I gotta say, man. But Eli, thank you for calling in, man. I appreciate it a lot. Guys, make sure you follow Eli on Twitter. Follow New York Giants Revival as well. He's part of that. And, of course, tune in to our Twitter Spaces. Any last thoughts before we go offline here, man?
Nah, listen, man. I appreciate your time. Forgive me. Like I said, man, I'm tired as hell, so forgive me if I'm all over the place. And yeah, man, pull up to these Twitter Spaces, man. Me, Hub, and Pestilence. We just talk, shoot the breeze, have you guys come in and just vent the same thing as he's doing on his pain stream here. So we kind of give you guys 2 days, man, and support each other while doing it. So, but before you cut this out, I'll talk to you sidebar when you end this thing.
For sure. But all right, guys, that's it for now. Thank you all for tuning in.